20 minutes drive out of the center of St. Petersburg is the Bogoslovskoye Cemetery and the grave of Pavel Kashin. Born 15th of July 1992, died July 2013 at the age of 21. There's a photograph of him on this grave, and he looks very different from the pictures I've seen of him online, where he's quite often bare-chested or in a tracksuit. Here he looks quite studious. He's wearing glasses, and there's some flowers here, recently laid, quite fresh, even though they're covered in snow. The grave is kind of a sort of greenish black marble, and on the back there's an inscription which is about living life to the full, being in the moment, and not being stopped by fear. Pavel Kashin was a veteran of St. Petersburg's parkour scene, a form of acrobatics in which people run, climb and somersault over a city's ready-made urban assault course of walls, stairs and rooftops. On the day he died, he was filming tricks with his friends, and standing on a metre-wide ledge at the top of an apartment block, Pavel pulled a backflip but lost his footing on the landing and fell 16 floors to his death. At the Yukando Parkour Club, I meet Vladimir Lapik and Sasha Bikov. Both were mates with Pavel. Hadn't the accident put them off doing these extreme stunts?
Нет, такого 100% не было. No, 100% no. Many people have gone during my life for different reasons, including parkour.
How many?
About 5.
The 5 people you know died doing parkour.
Yeah, or something related. Falling from buildings or getting crashed on the railway. Slippery surfaces can lead to accidents. But if you're asking me if such things make me think about giving up, the answer is no.
Russia is very famous around the world, famous for extreme selfies. What do you think is the reason for that? Why Russia?
We have a group of very committed people here, and they like doing it. It isn't connected to nationality or the language people speak. Мне кажется, связано. Вот, но у меня, видите, свое видение. I think it is connected. A lot of our men are just bored, and probably the main reason is to do with our military situation. I can't remember a single year where we're not facing some kind of threat. Because out of constant history of revolutions and wars, we all have to do military service. And it seems some of our expectations can never be met. Because, let's say, you learn to drive a tank, and you felt like a real man.
So you felt powerful.
Ты приходишь powerful, yeah.
Это называется «На миру и смерть красна».
But at the back of your mind, there is this memory of what you did, and you yearn for those feelings again.
With hundreds of thousands of followers on social media and tens of millions of people viewing
Крайняя
and sharing
степень
their
тщеславия.
videos, this extreme selfie subculture is proving lucrative for a lucky few. Among the stars of the scene is 23-year-old Angela Nicolau, whose profile on Instagram, she has around 500,000 followers, recently got her on the Cherny Organ, an American-style late-night talk show which hosts guests from Hollywood stars to Kremlin politicians. Angela is an art student, and I go to meet her at her home inside a gated community on the outskirts of Moscow. The walls are covered with her paintings, and she's still unpacking from a trip to China, paid for by one of her sponsors, a Russian travel firm.
А так, я как блогер, считай, могу снимать рекламу какую-то в свой Инстаграм.
As a blogger, I can advertise stuff on my Instagram account, and I work with various brands and websites.
And what kind of products are you promoting?
Скажу, одежда, well, clothing and action cameras, we advertise those. Internet ads really pay off.
When you do adverts, sponsors, they pay for your trips, yeah? Да, они как бы предоставляют...
Yes, they can get us plane tickets and hotels, but They don't pay for us climbing up the roofs. We could just take pictures on the ground. But we understand that the clip will be played a lot more if there is an extreme element to it. Something extraordinary.
Angela has a feline grace and reminds me of a Siamese cat as she perches on her bed, legs tucked underneath her. She's what's known as a roofer, somebody who can be found posing on top of tall buildings and radio towers. Basically anything which is really, really, really high. And once she's up there, you'll see her doing a yoga backbend on a narrow ledge, or smiling casually under a selfie stick with the ground hundreds of meters below her. So why on earth does she do it? While telling me about her recent visit to the Far East, she insists it's not about thrills or an adrenaline rush. Instead, she seeks a sense of serenity and superiority.
In Hong Kong, down below on the street, it's as if you're boxed in and surrounded by walls. But from high up, it's a completely different city. It's kind of quiet up there. You have a more personal relationship with the city. Down on the ground, there's so many people. And maybe that's something I'm particularly sensitive to, because I'm not very tall. And people are always pushing into me, annoying me. But up on top, it's so calm. You can see past the buildings to the hills around the city. When it's lunch hour in Hong Kong, access to the streets like cockroaches. And then when the lunch hour is over, they scuttle away again, back to their workplaces. I think one day I'll be a slave like them, but for the time being, I can allow myself to travel and to observe those people, but try not to become too much like them.
Social media has certainly changed the way we view the world and ourselves. We're more connected, more self-conscious, more interested in whether we're liked. This is something Lev Pelezhongin has recognized in his work as a psychiatrist at the Federal Medical Research Unit at the Russian Ministry of Health.
Вот у меня был такой случай, когда девочка с мальчиком договорились. I had a situation where a girl and a boy decided that she would stand on the roof of a high building. He would be down below on the ground. She would jump, and he would take a picture of her jumping. She said to him at the time, in the evening, we can see how many likes we have on Facebook for that photo.
And if she had jumped, she would have died.
Но она бы гарантированно умерла. That was guaranteed, because it was 16 floors up. But she didn't even consider that possibility. A crowd gathered towards her, and the person who saved her was a passerby. He just grabbed her and pulled her away from the edge of the roof.
I mean, how can you think you can jump from 16 floors and be fine in the evening to see how many likes you've got on Facebook?
Но это, понимаете, это называется... In psychiatry, it's called partial cognitive inconsistency. So this is where an intellectually developed person with a normal intellect, paradoxically, in some elements of his behavior, does not fully think through the situation.
Aside from the physical risk, the risk of killing yourself, roofers are also breaking the law. They play a cat-and-mouse game with security guards, and if caught on their way back down, they're often forced to delete the recordings they've just risked their lives for. Recently, some have also been beaten up. 24-year-old Kirill Vasilensky is one of Moscow's most famous roofers, and he's climbed pretty much every tall building in the city, except, perhaps understandably, the Kremlin and the Foreign Ministry. Funnily enough, though, he tells me one thing which has encouraged extreme selfie culture in Russia is the surprisingly mild punishment for getting caught.
Нас иногда задерживали на крыше.
Well, we have been arrested, but nothing happened, because there is no law against being on the roof of a normal apartment block. If you're on a building site or an office block, then there is a fine of 500 rubles. But that's the worst that's ever happened.
So that's not a very big fine, that's just a bit more than $10.
Все движение из России.
Although it's against the law, it's not as dangerous to do it here from a legal point of view. And so, because the situation is easy here, the whole movement started in Russia.
It's a paradoxical situation, isn't it? Because we think of Russia now, under Putin, being quite an authoritarian place.
Я считаю, что если ты не касаешься политики, то...
Yes, but I would say that as long as you don't touch politics and don't get in anyone's way, then yes, it's a lot freer here. Moscow political activists have opted to do things, to climb up a tower and form a dinner, but we always say no.
Around the world, people chance their lives to enter secret worlds. Cavers go hundreds of meters below ground, where there's a risk of drowning or being suffocated. And throughout history, the public's been fascinated by extreme escape artists, like Harry Houdini, or the canyon-jumping motorcyclist Evel Knievel. While Russia doesn't have a monopoly on risk, today young Russians are attracting global attention for their death-defying high-rise stunts. Why? I asked psychiatrist Lev Cherezhongin.
Я не могу ответить четко на этот вопрос, потому что такое надо...
The average Russian considers himself to be European. However, by economic standards, we lag far behind the majority of European countries, and therefore don't have the same opportunities for self-realization. There is a lack of social mobility. So a young and talented Russian...
Вот, оказывается, как дело было. А я думал, это просто мудаки.
I wouldn't say despair, but I would say a desire to change and an inability to do it.
This is my school where I studied until I was 18. You could say it all began here, when I used to jump out of the window on the second floor to get out of lesson.
And did the other people think that you were cool?
No, говорили, вот. Well, they were like, you're an idiot. Why jump out of the window when there are stairs?
Back in his village in southern Siberia, it strikes me that Alexander Chernikov is perhaps one of those people Dr. Cherezhongin is talking about. Someone who has big dreams and ambitions, but lacks the support or know-how to make them a reality. So instead he resorts to jumping off 9-story buildings to get noticed. As we walk through his snow-covered village, we meet one of his neighbors and best friends, Sergei, who's responsible for filming some of Alexander's stunts.
Мне было интересно вот это направление паркура. Появились
Sergei saying, I was really into parkour when I saw these first videos on the internet of people doing tricks and all kinds of stunts. And I think Sasha Alexander was as well. And I even remember that he said, one day when I'm older, when I grow up, I'm going to jump off roofs as well. I'm going to do the same kind of thing. And both of us had this dream about being in cinema, that we wanted to make films. But are you making any money out of this?
авторские права от видео.
Alexander's saying, I don't really make much money out of this. I mean, sometimes I sell the copyright of videos, but not for very much money.
Я вообще, Саша, предлагал...
Sergei was just saying that when Alexander jumped off the 9th floor building and set himself on fire, it caused quite a lot of publicity, and we were invited onto a talk show in Moscow. There we met a very famous actor, a stuntman, and he said to Alexander, I'll get you on my next film. And we swapped phone numbers, but we never heard anything.
We escape from the bitter cold into Alexander's home, where his mother Svetlana makes us a much-needed hot cup of tea. And she tells us more about his appearance on a popular TV chat show.
На этих кадрах 23-летний Александр Черников из Барнаула.
Alexander and his parents travelled nearly 2,500 miles to Moscow to appear on a daytime show called Males and Females, which discusses big moral issues of the day. Though once the show went live, Alexander discovered he was only there to be made fun of. His family treated like brainless country bumpkins.
Потому что я налогоплательщик. Я не хочу этого козла.
What if he jumps and gets injured? Asked the show's belligerent host. I don't want him being treated in hospital on my taxes. I don't want to pay for this idiot. It's a stark contrast to the time Moscow roofer Angela Nicolaou appeared on a talk show. She was applauded, given a bouquet of pink TV studio sofa. She admits she's not happy about her son's death-defying jumps, but she says she also admires him because at least he has a sense of ambition.
Здесь работы в нашем селе как таковой нет.
There is not really any work here. People go to the city, to Barnaul, which is an hour away from here. Wages in the Altai region are amongst the lowest in the country. The monthly salary here is $150 to $200.
So you're working on a building site now, yeah?
В данный момент я сейчас нигде не работаю.
Well, at this moment, I don't work anywhere. Sometimes I just do it for a week, sometimes for a month or 2 months.
If you could choose anywhere, where would you live ideally?
Ой, я бы переехал жить куда-нибудь.
I'd like to go and live in Moscow or go abroad somewhere
Конечно,
to
все
Europe or
посмотрят тоже на
America.
Москву.
Because here there is nothing to do. There is no opportunity for growth. There is just degradation.
Тут в основном деградация происходит.
Degradation?
Да, много знакомых.
Yes, some of my friends just hang out in courtyards, drinking beer and vodka and smoking. Some are drug addicts, some ended up in prison. Most young people are like that. There are very few people who strive to attain something, strive for success, strive for personal achievement.
Очень мало таких ребят.
So you'd like to live here?
Конечно,
Of course, of course. I want to live here.
я хочу отсюда уехать.
You've been listening to Assignment on the BBC World Service with me, Lucy Ash. Research for this documentary was done by Tatiana Moshevich, and the producer was Richard Fenton-Smith. Before the news show of the BBC World Service, we asked, does the death of a loved one have to